Hey guys, John from the John Muir Show here, and the former Trump campaign staffer who's now accusing the president of forcibly kissing her during a campaign stop back in 2016 is now speaking out to the fake news media about it. Alva Johnson is her name, and this story ended up in a bunch of leftist publications back on Monday morning, coming out and saying that Miss Johnson had filed a lawsuit against President Trump for this alleged incident back in 2016. So Johnson is claiming that Trump was exiting his RV to speak with a crowd at a Tampa, Florida rally back on this day in 2016 when she told the candidate, "Go kick ass." And then, according to Johnson, Trump reacted by grabbing her hand and then kissing her. Johnson says that she had turned her head, resulting in his lips touching the corner of her mouth. This is how Johnson now describes that alleged incident: gross and creepy, like sometimes I could still see those lips. Now, of course, it is worth noting a few things, that Johnson did not immediately leave Trump's campaign. In fact, she stuck around until October of 2016, which was weeks after this alleged incident occurred. And Johnson claims that the eventual departure was the result of her having heard the Access Hollywood tape, the now famous Access Hollywood tape, the grab her by the pussy tape, which she says when she heard the tape, she was in her car driving, and as soon as she had heard what it is that was being reported about that tape, that she started screaming out loud, "Oh my God, that's exactly what he did to me." Like, he literally described exactly what he did to me, minus the grab the pee, end quote. The White House is strongly denying all of the allegations being made by Miss Johnson. And in addition to wondering why it is that Johnson didn't immediately leave the campaign if something like this did happen, if Trump kissed her and she was so traumatized by it, one's also left to wonder why it is that she waited so long to bring the lawsuit against Donald Trump. I mean, this alleged incident occurred back in somewhere around the middle of 2016, and now all of a sudden you're going to wait until 2019 to file something in court. I mean, that's pretty questionable. And also, a few more things worth noting. Why is it, if this Miss Johnson hated Donald Trump so much, if she was so taken aback by what he did in 2016 on the campaign trail, why then in 2017, once Donald Trump was already in the White House, did she publicly praise Donald Trump? And also, if she was so taken aback by Donald Trump and this actually happened and it was just so terrible that he definitely kissed her and all that, then why is it that she applied, Johnson did, for a job in the Trump White House? I mean, there are so many questions that are worth asking. If this incident actually did take place in 2016, as Johnson's now claiming, don't you think that she would want to stay as far away from Trump as possible? Not apply for a job where she'd be working in the same building that he works in. And also, this whole publicly praising Trump thing, you would think that Johnson would be denouncing Trump, or at the very most just staying quiet about Trump if she loathed him this much, if she felt like he had violated her back in 2016. She wouldn't be coming out and publicly praising the guy as she did. There are so many things that still do need to be asked about this, and quite frankly, these things should be asked. It is the responsible thing to do, and as is the case in every instance on the John Muir Show, and we mean this, we withhold final judgment until all the facts are out there. Just going, though, off of the initial things that we're hearing about this, all of these allegations being made by Alva Johnson sound very, very questionable. Like I said, there's a bunch of questions that can be asked. I just gave you some of the most pressing ones, and I wish more people speaking with Johnson would ask those questions instead of MSNBC just lobbing her a bunch of softballs like we had seen last night. See, Johnson is not answering the pressing questions that would pop into people's minds. Instead, what she's doing in discussing Donald Trump is just reciting a bunch of recycled DNC talking points, talking about how, oh yeah, Trump's so terrible, can't stand the way he responded to the violence violence in Charlottesville, Virginia back in August 2017. And oh, it was so terrible the way that families, those illegal families that were defying American law, that they were being separated at the southern border back in 2018. And oh my goodness, can you believe the way that Trump mocked that woman, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, who was accusing now Justice Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation process last summer? And she's going through all of these talking points, and I don't have time to get into now, but President Trump handled all of those situations exactly how a good president of the United States would. But she's going through all this, and nonetheless, I will say that all accusers do deserve to be heard. And Johnson, no different. She deserves to be heard. But also, all accusers should be questioned, including Johnson. It would be irresponsible not to question someone who's bringing forth such serious accusations against another human being. See, sometimes the stories just don't add up. It didn't add up with Christine Blasey Ford when she was accusing Brett Kavanaugh, and it's just not adding up with this Alva Johnson now who's accusing Donald Trump. See, we're living in a time where the left will stop at no means to go out there and try to take down our successful duly elected President Donald Trump. I mean, they have spent 2+ years now pushing allegations that Trump is only the president because he colluded with the Russians leading up to November 8th of 2016. They have still not provided a single shred of evidence to support that claim that has been made time and time again by so many prominent liberals on Capitol Hill and liberals in the fake news media. They haven't provided a single shred of evidence to back that claim, yet they're still running with it. All right? Keep that in mind. That's been the main line of attack that Democrats have been using against Trump for a couple of years now. Back in 2017, the spring of 2017, you had roughly a dozen women come out and accuse President Trump of having committed some sort of sexual misconduct against them in the past. How much have you heard about that since then? Hardly anything. I mean, if there was something to it, especially in the age of Me Too, I mean, don't you think we would still be hearing endlessly about these sexual misconduct allegations against the president? Of course we would. But even the left, who has no problem pushing this alleged Trump-Russia collusion narrative, even though they can't prove it, they don't think you can make a case for these sexual misconduct allegations against him. And if this claim from Johnson, these latest sexual misconduct claims against President Trump were true, don't you think they would be leading with that on CNN and MSNBC, and it would be the top story in the New York Times and the Washington Post? Of course it would be. But instead, they're shoving that to the back burner. Instead, they're leading with, oh, well, President Trump's former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen's on Capitol Hill today talking bad about the president, even though there's not a single thing that Michael Cohen is saying that is damning to President Trump. He didn't offer up anything that they could seriously use against Donald Trump, but that is what is leading in the fake news media, not these accusations of Alva Johnson. Just keep that in mind. If there was anything to these accusations, if the left believed there was anything to these accusations, you would be hearing about it nonstop. But you're not. And when all the dust settles, my prediction, I have a feeling that this Alva Johnson case is going to end up just like the Dr. Christine Ford and Julie Swetnick cases against Brett Kavanaugh. I think we're going to find out all of it is a liberally manufactured hoax. And that's all the time that we have for today, but tune into the John Muir Show. We're back again tomorrow, and each and every weekday morning, 8:40 a.m. on WTAQ, 9 a.m. WSAU and WHBL. Till next time, I'm out.